So, welcome to the show, and it is Tuesday, the 3rd of September 2013. I am working on my own this evening. My pal and sidekick, Andy, is actually on his holidays for the second time this year. But we do have a co-host, waiting for that co-host to get the computer rebooted and up to speed. My name is Paul Vickers, or Paul Rippon as he used to be known. And people say, why were you called Paul Rippon? What was that all about? Very, very simple. The radio station that I used to be associated with, there was two Pauls. So the only name that came up was Paul Rippon. So I got that name. So that's how this works. What do we talk about on this show? Well, we being me and Andy, but not being here, but we do have a guest. We do have a guest, and I can see that she is online now. So let's add this lady to the call. Let's see if we can get it right this time. We usually do this before the program actually starts, but one or two little hiccups with the computers, which isn't unusual in this day and age. So I got to say a very good evening or good afternoon, I think it'll be in Canada, to Kate of Gaia. Hello, Kate.
Okay, I can still barely hear you. I don't know what's going on with Blog Talk, but let me just adjust my microphone speaker levels and see if I can hear you, Paul.
We're going through Skype, so we should be good. Hopefully I'll settle down and you'll be able to hear me okay. Right, we are now settled and sorted. So, after connecting both radio stations up, we are now live. Everything is working right. Let's start the show again. Let's do it again. Live around the world on Blog Talk Radio and on awakeradio.co.uk. On we go with our weekly 2-hour, not shout at the world, because the world doesn't like being shouted at, just like you don't and just like I don't. It is our opportunity to share what we know about. And I know that being an internet radio host isn't a very glamorous career, let me tell you that. And I don't do this for an audience or an ego boost or anything like that. If you've heard me before, you'll know why I do this. I do this to educate myself, because how many people get the opportunity to listen to themselves recorded live, and you listen back to it and then self-critique? I think if we could all do that, we would actually be a little bit different, because we don't sound like what we think we sound like. We butt in, we don't wait for sentences to complete, we change the subject when we don't know about anything, and if we don't agree with somebody, we just say, that can't be true because I don't think it is. It's a very strange world we've built. Now, me, I have a little bit of a smaller ambition. I don't quite look to save the world, because it's not going to be possible. That's just for Hollywood to sell us on a regular basis. I actually say, do what you can with what you have, and do it where you are. You know, just a little bit. If we all perhaps looked a little deeper into life and living, then things would change, things would be different. And the frustration of the philosopher is forever saying and repeating those things, you know. Be honest with yourself. Ask yourself a simple question. What did you do yesterday that made a difference to anything that matters? These are the things that occupy my time, and this is the reason why I've asked Kate of Gaia to come and join me, because you talk about things that I'm interested in. Hello.
Yeah, I just had to unmute there, Paul. How are you?
I'm all good. Hopefully you could hear what I was saying there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's my opening show rant. This is what we do. You know, I actually try and teach myself how to teach. Not because I want to be smart or clever in anybody else's opinion, but I want to be proud of me. I want to be proud of what I try to be, and I want to look back and don't have the regrets that other people have, that I should have tried harder, I should have learned more, I should have read different things. I mean, I am an advocate that what goes in your eyes and your ears is what comes out of your mouth. It's unmistakably true. It cannot be any different. That's life for me.
Well, I'd certainly take a different twist on a lot of things.
I know you do. That's why I asked you.
As you know, I'm on the air, 7 nights a week.
Yeah, that's why I asked you.
Today I'm on three times today.
Yeah, I know. But when you're talking, I don't always agree with you.
That is a fundamental question I ask myself. Did I do enough today to change the world? And you can call me Hollywood, I guess, because the world that I see is the only one I can change. And we all have that power innately, and the whole system has spent an infinite amount of time and effort convincing everybody that they're simple little meat sticks, that they have no effect on anything, that they can't change anything, and that they make sure that they put the nice big red X's on your paper as a kid. They make you play musical chairs where there is, out of 30 kids, 1 winner, 29 losers. So this whole programming has been made to that extent, where we, I'm going to go back to a pretty cool teacher. You might be familiar with him. Jesus was one of many, but I like referencing him because the church certainly doesn't. They put one of the original truthers. They nailed him to a cross. That tells you what the church thinks of Jesus.
They certainly did.
They sell everything backwards. And I'll take the guy at his word. God is light year gods, and I'm cool with that. That works for me. Buddha said it, Mithra said it, Krishna, they all said the same thing. These are just transplants of the same. Whether these people lived or not is irrelevant. It's the message that needs to be seen. And what most people end up doing is they get caught in the past. And by that I mean, as soon as you open your eyes, you're in the past.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because I do like to play the allegories and the shape by story game, because as all good stories, they have a deeper meaning, but only if you can decode it properly. And when we look at life, the Hollywood pictures that were shown today is just the life. It's just an outrageous example of what we're actually doing, because we're all living in a theatre of sorts. When you look at the theatre itself, at today's modern day theatre, we have a light at the back of the room that shines through the film, that is focused into a lens that flips the picture and shows it on a screen that we can all see. But that's what's happening in the outside world every day. All that's been done is a counterfeit that's been put in the theatres.
Well, yeah, and you want to get real basic on it. I don't know how much you know about me. First thing I like to tell people, if you want to kind of get into the headspace where I and tens of thousands of others that tune in every night are, pop over to cateofgaia.wordpress.com, head over to the writings page, and just do some reading. And you'll learn very quickly who you are. Very quickly. Unfortunately, most people can't handle that. Most people can't confront the fact that they've been committing fraud their entire lives, and it's all based on the phonics, the Phoenician law, and all of this, ties together. For me, I came at this from a spiritual, not meat stick or physical perspective, because I really want to drill this point home. When you open your eyes, you're actually living in the past.
I know.
And I'll tell you why.
I know why. Yeah, you go ahead. I know why. I talk about this all the time. Yeah. Well,
light takes time to travel to your eyes. You'll never see anything as it is, only as it was. So you're not in what I call the pre-sent time, or the true moment of now. And that's where your creation occurs. And everyone thinks you have to put your intent out there. No, because you're putting it out into the physical from a mental perspective. And what we need to do is get within ourselves. Your creational void is within you. You're a universe unto yourself. I see everything in a fractal, macro, micro, right? So the only thing that made sense to me was, well, my heart is an Anu. That's what they're referred to as, which is either a left turning or right turning. In my case, I have the feminine turn. That's my true essence. That's why I'm transgendered, right? It's nothing to do with anything physical or DNA or anything. It's got everything to do with your energy, and a very fundamental level here. the Anu, or the heart, is the center of the universe. Science has even proven it for you. If you want to go look at this, a particle has been located in the heart area that burns between 3,000 and 6,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a mini sun. So what I do with all my intention is I put it into my heart, create it there, then send it out. I don't send it out to be recreated by anybody else. It's already created when I send it out.
Absolutely. That's, in fact, the heart is really just a spell of Earth, isn't it? And the heart is actually the only organ that can be broken but still work, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, the liver, you can cut the liver down, cut it in half, and it'll regrow itself. We can get into all the astrological aspects of what the body is, what blood truly is.
Well, I'd like to, if I could, I'd like to stay on the phonics a little bit.
Sure.
If that's possible, because I do understand astrotheology is the story in the sky that's been relayed to us on Earth, as it were. And, we are following the stars, and whether that's a true story or not is open to subjective discussion. I don't choose to go either way. I understand the story's been generated from the stars. And that's me done with that, because I find that's a study in the past that I don't enjoy.
Well, yeah, again, I put it that in the mirror. The story in the sky is the reflection of you.
Yep.
And people get fixated in the duality of seeing it only from one side. Typically, the most common thing you'll see is people will judge things as either good or evil, where I can take the most relevant truther, and show how evil they are with the good intent they have, and I can take, those that we would deem to be evil, i.e. the Illuminati, Masonic, whatever the case may be, Rome, whatever, and I can show you how benevolently good they are.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with you there. Now, I am getting an echo back at your end. I know you've just stopped it. That's good. No, you haven't. I have quite an echo coming back on me. I don't know if your maybe speakers are a little bit too loud.
No, I've got headphones on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's blog talk, normal.
Okay. Now, yeah, I understand that, the good and evil, or God and the devil, whichever version that you're comfortable with. I understand that, the words can be flipped, and I'm very, very interested in that, because, there's wise and then there's otherwise. And it's obvious or oblivious, and this way of learning and knowing isn't actually for everybody. I remember in the early days, I thought everybody would want to know this. I felt that, who wouldn't be excited by this stuff? But it would appear that the way these things are, the way things are panned out, as it were, not everybody wants to know. It's not that they shouldn't know, it's that the education denies them the opportunity to do that.
Well, again, I'll make it even simpler. It's not their job. You see, we all have our individual roles, right? We walk our paths alone completely. Mm-hmm. And what we're doing now is, as we walk these paths alone, we're doing it together. Big difference.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying by that. That is how it feels. It has to be your own personal journey, and you do have to take the turns in the road. And those turns are really created by asking why. Because the word why it really forms the phonetics, or the phonics of whys. You put why is and whys together, and you got to take the chances, you got to take the paths, and you've got to be smart enough, because this...
the word why is composed of three vowels. Most people think W and H are consonants. They're not. They're vowels. Yeah, but what why is we've got to be prepared to go why is, and then take what appears to be the right turn, and be prepared to make a U-turn, where you turn around again, because the only way we can learn is basically by getting things wrong. I mean, I used to think growing up was something that happened as you got older, but it turns out that's not the case at all. It's something that you have to choose to do. And not everybody is going to want to do that. Well, not everybody has that role. This is the thing. I mean, you can look, if you look at creation from the fractal, all points of creation exist now, and I'm talking, from the subatomic particle all the way up to, a star like Arcturus and beyond, size of universe. But everything is a mirror reflection of itself within itself within itself. That's why you have to get within in order to understand what's really going on. I'll give you an example of some of the phonics. Right, I take things to a level that most people, they're starting to get now. But, when we talk about courts, which are that's the culmination of church and state together in one unit. That's what the courts are. Court meaning church, which is what the word translates into. And, of course, they're dealing in Admiralty Phoenician law, which is money, commerce. So there's your physical and spiritual aspects brought together. And London, of course, Temple Bar, the whole London financial district. That's the allegory of, the physical money, whatever. I get into all sorts of stuff on that, but I want to show you one word in particular that will help to clarify some things. Well, I'll give you a couple, and then of course Rome is your spiritual side, right? They're handling the religious. So you got your spiritual as above and your physical, London, as below, in an unholy alliance that has just recently broken. So what I've seen with this unholy alliance breaking is the separation, finally, of church and state. And that will culminate in the complete collapse of the fictitious legal system, which is absolute trollop.
Now I got to get in here because we talked about this briefly last night, and my research tells me I can't go along with this way of, I can't accept that this is what's going to happen, because this is a apostolic letter. That takes some saying. I've never said that before.
Yeah,
and this
apostolic,
is apostolic letter. God, that was a tongue twister. And I have read it myself. I've read it twice through. And I don't interpret it the same way as you do. And after being around this news service and this alternative media for quite some time, it is, for me, it's difficult to see that this one letter is going to change anything in particular, because
it already has.
Well, it's full of language from known liars, and the Vatican itself has been convicted, well, not convicted because they've never been in trouble, but they've actually, hundreds of thousands of children over many years have disappeared because of the Catholic Church, and nobody ever gets into trouble. So, again, I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not arguing with you, but to say this is going to change things is, well, that's a big one.
Yeah, well, that's fine. And like I said, with regards to, I go back to Mark Passio's my favorite quote of Mark Passio is, I don't care if, people believe what it is that I say. Truth doesn't require that. And the simple thing is, and that's probably a very arrogant statement to most people.
I like it. I'm okay with it. I say the same thing myself. Think what you want, because I do.
Well, that's the thing is, I've walked my path, and all I have to reference is my experience within it. And that I am the co-creation of the culmination of all my experiences, people I interact with, situations I've been in, and everything else. And I'm the only point of consciousness that is fully aware of my experience. So for me to try to convey that, all I can do is really convey resonant ideas for people to see it for themselves. So for me, it was about showing people where the yellow brick road is. I found it, and if people want to see it, it's a very magical place, and this is how I've managed to uncover as much stuff as I have, because I didn't go at it from, at the beginning I did, like everybody else, all the legal gurus and all the rest of it, I can write a pretty nasty legal letter, and I've shut down courtrooms and stuff like that, using only that, premise. But with me, it had to be so much bigger. And my game took on a very spiritual, and it always has been, but even more so, a number of years back. For those that don't know, I'm the individual in the video of The Judge Bows to Sovereign.
I'd like to talk about that, if I may, because, yes, I've watched that again, not realising that it was you. I didn't know it was you at the time, but I did see that. I saw the Judge bow, and I thought, good, I'm going to get to ask live, because you refused to submit what he wanted to hear, which was your full name. Or at least your name that he wanted you to say, so he could...
Okay, well, see, and let's get out of the...
Yeah, I know, hang on, I know what you're going to...
Yeah,
I got that wrong. He wanted you to say what he wanted you to say, so he could act upon you. And
he wanted me to commit fraud, yes.
Yeah, and and you didn't say it, so you bowed and left the room. Now, I'm going to ask, what happened after that? Because you dismissed the case, as it were, and left the court. What happened afterwards?
Well, yeah, that's the thing is, and I've heard so many different variations of what happened to me without people actually ever talking to me, so it's pretty funny. First off, I should make a note that there was no ticket in the first place.
Right.
This was a test. The system was testing my mettle, as it were.
Okay.
And there were documents that were sent in. There was a lot of things that led up to that people aren't aware of. They don't, like I said, they don't know my path. They don't know what happened. And I've spent the last, it was actually 3 years ago Sunday when that occurred. And the only burning question I had was why. Now, they went ahead and of course, the other individual, there was actually supposedly 2 parking tickets, if anyone was paying attention, but there was only a handful of people in the church or court with me, 21 actually, to be exact, that saw what happened. But even I will hazard to say that, 21 out of those 21 didn't actually see what really occurred there. because many of these people that were there went back into the whole gimme free man on the land, sovereign citizen / garbage belligerent movement. Yeah, I moved away from that.
I'm with you on that one. I'm with you.
Right.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing more retarded than a bunch of people that don't know who they are walking around pretending to be free men on the land. Free man is actually a debenture slave. It's a bondsman, a bond slave, and they don't even know that. They're walking around saying, "I'm a slave," you know, and it's quite silly actually. But and I know that because I can contrast it. I was there once, right? I was one of those idiots too, so I get to see the contrast of, oh look, I was an idiot. Now I've grown up and seen things a little differently. So what most people don't understand, first off, when I'll give you the Miranda rights of the United States. This is pretty much applicable around the world. As a matter of fact, every law that is on the books is applicable around the world. You just have the illusion that somehow a border makes it different. No, every law came out of the Temple Bar, i.e. the Bar Society. Where there is a court, there is a temple bar.
Yeah, I understand, and that is actually where you find the original freeman, isn't it? They actually have the status of freeman inside the City of London, as it were.
Oh, exactly, and that's why the merchants of the City of London state, the square mile, talked William the Conqueror out of it back after the Battle of Hastings. They just said, you can have the rest of England, we just want the square mile to keep our own laws. And William the Conqueror, like the fool he was, said, oh, okay. And what we have right now is the culmination of that stupidity back in 1060, I believe it was 1068. Battle of Hastings was 1066. They held the City of London under siege for a couple of years. And, of course, they were able to survive no problem because they could get in and out, no worries, right? But anyway, just setting the stage here. But what has happened within the courts is all the courts are based on, and we know this, admiralty law, yeah? Right, admire all tea, to bog down all love. That's what it translates into. Ad means to or since in Latin. Mire, to bog down, all, literal, teeth, note of love. And they do a pretty damn good job of it. They want to get you in fear to feed your energy. It's a vampiric spiritual game that they're playing, right? And this aspect of ourself, because it is another aspect of ourself, we are one, has been vamping away this energy. And we've been doing it willfully. You know, you walk into a cathedral or a mosque or a synagogue, doesn't matter. They're all designed the same way to gather that energy up. You might ask why there's domes and spires and pinnacles and everything else, and then you may want to ask Rome why all their telescopes are aimed at the Orion Nebula. Just silly little questions. By the way, Orion Nebula is an Anu. It's a heart. Okay. You'll see. That's the birthplace of stars.
So you've got me on the edge of the seat here. What happened when you left court?
Well, what was that?
What happened when you left court?
Oh, we went over and had a couple of beers and some fries and watched all the cops scattering around the courthouse, and we were quite entertained.
And they just dropped the case? They just left you alone?
Well, no, they went ahead with it because they knew they couldn't create joinder with me, and of course, to keep their books balanced, they were caught in a very precarious place. Also, keep in mind, this was 3 years ago. Right? I have peeled countless layers off that onion since then, to the degree that I scared system enough for them to SWAT raid my home, kidnap me and my family, basically steal my possessions, destroy my life, and all the well, try to anyway, in an attempt to shut me down. 28 days solitary for standing, and they know exactly who I am, and they know that I know who I am. So they have actually transgressed on universal law, to the degree that they even did and this is going to melt your mind, a time jump to correct a document that was wrong that actually would have undone all of this.
They're a bunch of pirates, aren't they, really?
Well, yeah, we're pretty clever, and I don't separate them from myself. I see them as a separate yet same aspect of myself that I have to correct within me, right? So this is why when we get caught in the duality of they're the bad guys and we're the good guys, and you're polarized, right? You cannot walk the middle road. Here's the thing. If you stand on the tail of a dragon, the head will come around and chomp your head off. And if you stand on the head of a dragon, the tail will come around and knock you off. So what you got to learn to do is stand on its back, right in the center place. Stand on the rim of the coin. The heads and tails, that's what heads and tails on a coin is, the head of the dragon and the tail of the dragon, right? So what you need to do is learn to stand in the middle of it, stand on the rim.
Well, the heads and tails on the coins has a different one for me, actually. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that the decodes that we all share are correct for us at the time of decoding it. Everyone thinks there's one version of everything, and of course that's not true at all. There's a version for everybody, and it changes as you go along, you know. That's the skill, that what you believe today, you have to be comfortable that may change tomorrow.
Oh, I'm not happy if it doesn't.
Well, good answer, actually, because heads and tails for me is heads you know and tails you believe, and that's how it works for me.
Or I go even simpler on it. Heads you know, tails you don't, right? And you got to stand in the middle of the knowing, all-knowing and all-unknowing at the same time, and because they're both one and the same, right? There is bliss in ignorance, and there is bliss in knowledge, right?
Well, yeah, I think the Greeks used to call the word for school in Greek was leisure.
Yeah. And it should be very comfortable and fun, but I assure you, being the first day of school here in Canada, there are a lot of miserable kids. Well, actually happy now because school's out. It's 4:30 here, right? You know, so again, these are the tools that system has used to keep us, or whatever aspects of ourselves that are trying to keep humanity pinned down. These are the tools of use, and they instill all sorts of programs. You know, they instill a fear program, they instill a savior program, they instill rescue programs. They're all there, and it's all based in the phonics. You know, this is what Phoenician law is. It's based on phonics, Phoenician. This is the rising of the phoenix to end the phonics, right? That's what the allegory of the phoenix is. It's rising from the fire and leaving the ashes, and the new phoenix arises. And that's, for me, it's a very powerful allegory. To try to bring into focus in a couple of hours the last 3 years is going to be difficult, but let's just say I'll give you the culmination points. Does that work?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
All right. Anyone that is using their name at all and don't know who they are is committing fraud. That's why everyone's walking around with ID, therefore they have unclean hands. That's why the other parts of ourselves, the other unclean hands that aren't bar members, namely cops and bailiffs and, you know, bylaw enforcement and all the rest of these people.
Now, can I just say, you do sound like you're in the middle of a hurricane.
Oh, you just broke up there. What was that?
It sounds like you're in a very windy corridor.
Popcorn. That's all I'm hearing.
Okay.
Try that again.
It sounds like you've got some sort of wind interference on your microphone.
It was I've got a little umbrella. I was just going to stand up and take it down because it just came down again. It's fairly windy here, but shouldn't be that much of an interference. But yeah, what was your? Did you have a question prior to that I missed, or?
Well, you were basically just saying that you know, the trick is all in the name and the signature, and I do understand that you know, we do call ourselves what we're told to call ourselves, and I do know the birth certificate. It actually says on the birth certificates here in the UK that this is not
to be used for identification purposes.
Yes, that's right. So I am aware that, you know, there's something wrong with that.
Oh yeah. Well, I've outlined that very clearly in a couple of documents on my webpage.
Okay.
You can read them. One is the essay, which is layman's terms, easy reading, is the long and short of it. That's the long form and the short form, birth certificates. That's what the term comes from, right? It's about understanding the old sayings and seeing what they really mean, right?
Yep.
Like those of us on urine therapy, you know, we don't piss our lives away anymore, and we take the hair of the dog that bit us, right?
Okay.
Okay, so all these little raining cats and dogs. I've got a 3 essay series on raining cats and dogs for those that want to see how we were spiritually trapped.
Yeah, I've read some of that. I have read some of that, and I do see cats and dogs as being the life that we live.
Well, yeah, it's masculine and feminine. Everything with me comes back down to the two fundamental, and there is only one fundamental energy in this universe, and that's magnetic, right? That is the is. There is no intent required to just be, right? So that's Isis, by the way. The is. There is no intent required. And what came out of the is was the prodigal son, or the electrical, right? The intent. And what happens with that is from creation came electricity, which also has the ability to do what? Create magnetism. That's why this intertwining of magnetic, electric, feminine, masculine, fundamental concept must be gotten, or you'll miss the whole show. And it's so clear to see. Right, so what you were saying about the name there, yeah, absolutely. Mom and Dad, they convinced you that you were that name because, well, they came up with it. So one, wasn't your idea. It was Mom and Dad's. Okay, so that's a fact. 2, Mom and Dad registered the name. The word register, or register, means regis, to rule, and stir is divine feminine creative essence. And the relevance of this is very, very important when you start putting all the pieces together. You see, when you look up the word gift in Black's Law, you will see the anagram of GIFT, which stands for gamete intrafallopian transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when Mom and Dad are registering or gifting the name to the crown, what they're saying is they're giving up the gamete of their child. Now, the gamete is very interesting in that all biological organisms start out as what?
Female.
Right, feminine, right? The divine feminine. And what they're doing is, by registering the name, is they're claiming that divine creation essence, your God aspect, and rendering you neutered until you figure out what it is I'm about to share with you. That's why the system doesn't like me. I'm a stubborn bitch. But anyway.
So are you saying that the level above us that have their little cliques and clubs and societies, you're saying that they're still following this indoctrination?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and they're powerless without us. You see, we are the ones empowering our own slavery, and what I'm trying to do, for those that want, I mean, a lot of people are happy with their slavery. They're quite comfortable, and I'm not going to walk around with a bucket of ice water throwing it all over sleeping dogs. That's just stupid. You might get bitten, and I know many of us have, so I don't do that anymore. But the fundamental truth is this: Mom and Dad came up with a name, and of course the crown / church and state owns the marriage to begin with. You either got married in a church or married in a city hall. Doesn't matter. They're both one and the same. They're both marriage licenses. And what a marriage contract is, once you get married, and of course with the church, you're actually giving up a whole lot more on a spiritual level, because most people don't realize that when you're walking into these buildings that are the Antichrist, that's going to be a tough pill for people to swallow. You might want to take the key rho symbol and put it in the mirror, and you'll see what it really means. That's what I do with everything. I put everything backwards here so I can see it. Mm-hmm. And what happens then is any intellectual property or any choices or decisions made within that marriage are owned by the state anyway. So registering the child is just a further step, and only you can save yourself, right? So here's what happens. Mom and Dad register the child. And it's all, that's customary. Everyone does it, so let's do it. Mom and Dad, let's register. Next thing you know is the only document you will ever receive from any government is a birth certificate.
Mm-hmm. Well, the only one signed, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the only one they're going to give you that you don't ask for. They actually insist that you take it, right? Here's your proof of sale. That's what a BC is. It's a death certificate.
Okay. I mean, I am going to ask at the end of this line.
Sure.
I'm going to ask, where are you in the system? Are you in or out?
I'm out. I've been out for a long time.
Okay, and you're actually physically out in a way that you've disengaged from what, everything?
Yep, I have nothing.
So, do you drive?
Yep.
Without a license?
Yep.
Without insurance?
Yep.
Do you...
There's only one thing I carry, my friend, and it's the proof of the fraud. And if I can't use it, neither can they.
Okay. What is, when you say the proof of the fraud, it sounds like it's...
Birth certificate.
Right, okay.
Because it was the Crown's intent. What the birth certificate is the proof of the evidence of the intent to aid and abet my mom and dad into aid and abetting me into committing fraud by using a name that was legally and lawfully, you can speak legal or common law or whatever you want.
Yeah.
Now I say this to everybody, and I'm still going to say you're missing it. It is a binding contract. And the vampire can only come into your home if you do what? Invite it. Yeah.
I mean, you got me thinking more questions now, because you're the first person I've heard who've actually claimed. Well, I've heard somebody else claim this to this point. But what about the services that the government's deemed to provide? Now, I know that we provide them all, but they deem to provide it. I'm playing devil's
popcorn again.
Yeah, I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit here, but I'm doing it on purpose because I ask the questions that I want to know the answers to.
Okay, well, you're going to have to ask again, because all I got there was popcorn.
Right, okay. Now, you say that you've disengaged from the system. You've actually, disconnected completely. So what about the services that we all enjoy, that we pay far too much for, that the government never actually... What about those services? What about the doctors, the dentists, the nurses? What about the street lights in the libraries and the bin emptying? How do you survive?
Well, I guess that's up to me, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm just asking. I mean,
no. That's the honest answer. It's like, yeah, I'm effectively cut off from everything, and this is why it is so damn near impossible for people to let go of the whore of Babylon called commerce.
But you're asking them to let go of everything that makes their life, to them, makes their life better.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's just sleeping dogs. Let them sleep.
But surely changing what we have...
hold the light, or carry out the dead. Make your choice. I chose the middle cross.
Yeah,
one that they allegorically hung Jesus on. I'm okay with that one.
I think that's a very brave step that most people, no matter how enlightened they are, will not choose for themselves unless disaster comes upon them.
Well, that's how important truth is to me, and what I say to everyone else is, and you must love the lies, so I'm just going to stay my course, and that's fine. If I survive, that's universe will. If I don't, that's universe will. And I put not only did I put everything physical in line, I put my entire existence on the line here, because I'll tell you right now, we want to keep playing in this same game. You know, that's the illusion of the system. They got you thinking that the system's doing something for you. Well, I get my government check, I get this, and I get that.
I'm not fooled by that. I understand the system. Yeah, I'm not fooled, but I have a business and I work within the system, and I personally don't choose to give that up. So that's my choice. And also, I actually believe that changing the system from within is my, you know, I don't think I can change the system. I'm not deluding myself at all. I actually think that I can maybe influence a few other people to at least consider a different way of thinking. And if I can do that, I'll consider myself, you know, a small success. And it's all I'm hoping for. I mean, the only listener that I want to thank you from is my little girl who's 11 years old.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think the world's going to change because we want it to. It's going to change because we make it so it wants to itself, if you see what I mean. You know,
the world is you.
Yeah,
Paul.
well, I realise that, but the Syria, the reaction in the West here to the Syria conflict, the ongoing conflict in Syria, with here in the UK and here in the US, where
it's quite a theatre there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is quite a theatre, but people are suffering. Never mind, you know, the theatre it may be, but the suffering doesn't go away because we lighten the language. What I'm saying is that the actual reaction here in the UK and the US, we've got to take some encouragement from that.
All right. Well, here, let me just ask you a couple of questions, and this is a very fundamental thing here. So you were in Syria?
No. I'm saying the reaction from the West is very...
Hang on.
All right.
I'm going to be very specific. I'm going to walk you down a trail here. I want you to see truth.
Go.
So you were in Syria then, yeah?
Nope.
Where'd you get your info?
It's a good question to try and trip me up, but there is...
I'm not going to try. I'm not trying to trip you up. The fact remains, Paul.
Yeah, but there is something going on there.
Let me make this point first before you start defending it. Hang on.
No, I'm not defending it. No.
All right. Well, here it is in a nutshell. If you aren't there, it's like the saying: if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound?
Good analogy. Yeah, of course.
And the thing is, I've seen so many things come out on both sides of that in terms of a bunch of crisis actors, and there are many. When you start to see that all world's a stage, things get really light very quickly. You're not going to get tripped up by the illusion any longer. And the game here for me is quite simple. Can we distract you?
No, not like you used to be able to. No.
Yeah, well, that's what the game is. Will you buy this bullshit?
No,
will you take this on? Will you make this part of your movie or not?
No.
I just choose to look at it and go, nice try.
Right, okay. If I can finish off where I was going.
Sure.
Okay, the reaction in the UK and the US of the majority of the people don't want to enter into what is another war is very, very encouraging. Now, I don't profess to know what's going on in Syria, but I suspect there's no good going on in Syria. I suspect that whatever's happening, it isn't for the well-being of the majority of the people. And you know, the fact of what's happened in Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya, and obviously now we're hearing... This wasn't an illusion. Something happened and people died. And it looks like exactly the same thing has been set up in Syria. Now, I'm not believing anything. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get us back to, is it encouraging that the societies of the UK and the US, the majority of people have said, we don't want any more war. At least that's a starting point. For me, it's a talking point that you can get into with people because they're scratching their heads and saying, what's going on? And I think that's good.
Well, again, yeah, but they're caught in the drama, right? They're not seeing it the way it needs to be looked at. let me put it in very easy terms for everyone to understand. How many people bought the 9/11 lie?
Yeah, of course.
Right?
The majority.
The whole planet did, me included. Okay?
Yeah, I must admit, I thought, how close... I watched those buildings fall, and I did say to myself, how'd that happen? But I didn't think any more about it.
Right? I mean, it was quite the trick they pulled, and yeah, of course, a lot of people in their games, they love to, there could have been a lot more deaths that day. I mean, those buildings can hold up to, I think it was between 30 and 50,000 people when they were full, right? So,
okay.
So take the blessing. But here's the thing. They use that distraction to sell an illusion. And of course, what happened right after that? They had the entire world convinced that they need to go to war, and everyone said, "Oh yeah, that's good." Okay, so they fed on the drama, and what you're seeing right now with regards to Syria, especially right after Libya, the debacle in Libya, what you're seeing right now is the spiritual aspect of people finally waking up and not buying the movie that they're trying to sell. All the truth is out there. I mean, I live in a completely different realm than most people in terms of how I see this place, because I see the magic here. I see the fundamental things that are going on now, not the superfluous exteriors that are very easy to buy into. So I don't get into talking points on, this drama or that drama. I simply call that fear porn. And are you buying the fear porn? While people are focused all of their energy on, say, chemtrails or whatever else, what they're actually doing is manifesting them. They're making them possible. And the longer people buy into a lie, the longer the lie will persist. And of course, I mean, Joseph Goebbels had it right. The bigger the lie, the easier it is to sell. Yeah. And that's all they've done is they've made the lies bigger.
Well, it is a fact. It's a surprising fact that you learn over time that it is easier to fool people than convince them they're actually being fooled. And that's quite uncomfortable, really. Now then, 45 minutes in, you're listening to Paul Rippon here on the Unpenned Show, and my guest, Kate of Gaia. Kate of Gaia at kateofgaia.wordpress.com, is that correct?
Yep, kateofgaia.wordpress.com.
And you are a very busy internet radio host, 7 nights a week, and doubling up on some days, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, this
big mouth.
This will be turned into a YouTube edit for tomorrow, and YouTube can only play tunes. We're not allowed to play tunes, but I play tunes as part of my show. My Facebook, your Facebook, Kate, your website, and anything else that I think is appropriate that we talked about will be below this YouTube video. But just for now, let's have a couple of minutes and a break. We'll be back in about 4 minutes. Welcome back then to our second part of the show. You're listening to me, Paul, and I have as a guest this evening Kate of Gaia. Welcome back, Kate.
Yeah, right here. That's the thing. This world that we collectively create is, we are the masters of our own creation or destruction, and those that, partake in the state and continue to worship it, bye.
I know. Now, the Tracy Chapman thing, I think that's a great song. I do love the song because every day is the beginning of another revolution in one way. And we have to see it like that. Small steps, small steps, long journeys. And it's, for me, this is the most exciting time I have ever lived in. It's the best of times and the worst of times, as I think somebody wrote. It is a life.
Charles Dickens.
Yeah, it's a life full of wonder. And you have to take the good and the bad and use it to be what it is that you're going to make of yourself. But there is one thing that I do concern myself about, and that is that there is a large number of people who are never going to get this at all. And I know it's not for everybody, but there was a time in my journey, it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, and I remember the pain when I realised they were never going to get it. What's been stolen from them, the life they could have had and the dreams they could have fulfilled, and it's stolen from them. And I sometimes play it like that Tracy Chapman song. It just sends me back to that time of thinking, these people are thieves of futures, and no matter what I do, I know I can't give them that future back. And it's a painful discovery, and it's one that I can remember now. I'm feeling it now from 4 or 5 years ago. It's a tough system we live in.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't let people off the hook at all. I don't let myself off the hook, and quite frankly, nothing has been stolen that wasn't given away. And you see, this is the whole thing about ignorance is not a defense of or from the law, and it is quite literal. So it's about people waking up. And here's the good news.
Go on.
The elites made it very clear. If but one shall awaken. Out of 7.3 billion, the odds are pretty good. So I'm not worried about waking up all the sleeping dogs. I'm tired of getting bit. You know, I mean, I just talked about this I do the early evening show on Tuesdays on criticalmassradio.co.uk.
Yep.
And of course, that's my platform every single night. For those that want to catch any of my stuff, I'll share that Critical Mass Radio online.
Yep.
And I put that up on Facebook all the time. So it's not a difficult thing to find. And all you guys, actually, the easiest way to find me is just Google Kate of Gaia. And if you can't find me, go to work for the CIA and the FBI, because obviously I've been trying to get them to locate me, and they can't seem to find me.
No, you're easy to find. Actually, you do come up on the search as the top search. So if you Gaia is spelled Gaia. And is Gaia a different way of saying? Is it Earth? Different way of saying Earth?
Yeah, that's the name of our mother. Basically, that's her real name, Gaia. Rhea, Gaia. There's a lot of variations on it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's effectively. I like to refer to some. Gaia is a being. Mm-hmm. So when you call it the Earth, it's just this hunk of ground and minerals and a bunch of animals around on it. No, so I like to make sure that beingness is recognized. You're a little less likely to go and cut her throat then, aren't you? And look at this. I always speak third party, so fine. I'm never, even when I'm talking directly to someone, unless I say I am speaking, including myself. Right, so I don't let anyone off the hook, and I don't get caught up in the fear porn wallowing of victimhood. Right, that's another program. Churches sell you the victim.
Okay, you are breaking up a little bit. This wind noise is becoming more prevalent.
Really? It's
just a little bit.
Bad here at all.
Yeah,
I'm standing in the sun right now. Actually, it's beautiful.
All I can hear it in my headphones. I don't know if it's coming through on the radio. I guess it possibly is, but. Anyway, we'll keep going a little bit longer because I have got some more questions because I look at the directness of how you speak is what I enjoy the most. You sort of you leave no doubt in the path forward for you, and I love that. I do love that you will not be shaken from what you believe is what can be done, and I agree with you entirely. I do agree that it can be done, although the numbers are a little disappointing, but I see them improving. I actually have a fish and chip shop here in North Yorkshire, in the lovely little land of the UK, and I get to meet loads of people on a daily basis, and I get 2 or 3 minutes, or perhaps 2 or 3 minutes with each of them, just to say hello, how are you, because I live in amongst like a community, and I see the same people time and time and time again, so I can... You certainly... are breaking up a little bit, but I get to meet the same people sort of on a weekly or fortnightly basis, and I get to be able to carry on the conversations with them, and I am seeing definitely at least an interest in what could be another explanation. 5 or 6 years ago when I first started, talk about losing customers. I wasn't very good at trying to get my point across without upsetting people. I think we may have lost her. I think we have. Let's check on the...
Let me make a suggestion.
There you are.
Yeah, let me make a suggestion to people, and I go right back to it. Stop throwing buckets of ice.
Oh yeah, I've learned to do that now. But in the early days, I was a little clumsy. I think might be the polite term, or rude, or a little bit offensive. But I remember learning this stuff, and I thought everyone should know it. It didn't work out too well, so you calm down a little bit and make sense of it. But I do. I live in North Yorkshire. It's a very affluent part of the UK, and a lot of people aren't suffering in the way that perhaps others are around the other parts of our country. And I do believe that this sort of system opens itself up to those that an injustice is they've worked all their life and they've got nothing left, and you think, how's this happened? And you're looking around thinking, what's happened here? Why do I always lose? And those are the people that are, the mind opens up to at least listening to what could be an alternative.
Well, I don't consider alternatives. I mean, the more affluent you are, the more enslaved you are. That's a fact. That's where you are possessed by your possessions. See, that was the blessing that came out of my house and everything being stolen. These are it's very difficult for people to see the blessings.
Right, you are breaking up so much, Kate, that we're not actually getting what you're saying now.
You're breaking up too, so
yeah,
it's Blog Talk normal. They don't like truth.
It's the first time I've experienced this on Blog Talk. I don't quite know. Maybe it is because it's you. Maybe it's just you that gets this sort of treatment. I don't know.
I get it all the time, so it's all good. I'm used to it. That's why I write.
I've never experienced such an interference. Anyway, it is 10 o'clock, so let's sort of let's get to a point of putting forward the future as you see it, and how I think I can affect it by just doing what I can, by speaking out and making friends, and if I listen to them and they listen to me, then perhaps we'll get a dialogue going, because it takes a long time for people to open up to this. You just have to knock a little bit and see if they answer, and then maybe next week knock a little bit more and see if they answer. And it's a slow process, but it's something that I find thoroughly enjoyable now. I seem to have got over the frustration and the panicking and the confusion, It is a simply complex system. But reading, I'm reading Bertrand Russell at the moment. I've got 4 of his books to read through, and I'm thoroughly enjoying them. Because everything I'm reading now, it decodes in a way that it's telling us what the future would be, and if we like it, we'll go with it, and if we don't, we're being told, and we can still have the time to change it. And these are books written in the 20s, 30s, and 40s that are appertaining to the future they could see that we call now. And it is, it's enjoyable because you can learn what they learn, and then you can counter it because you know what they say is coming. It makes you look like a bit of a fortune teller, actually, doesn't it? Oh, I think I've lost you this time altogether.
No, I'm here.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I'm here. When people lose the notion of past and future, they'll actually start to see the now. I treat everything that I look at in the now. I don't look at, I look at something like the Bible, which is a beautiful allegorical truth book if you know how to read it,
yep.
in the present time, because that's everything. There is only now. And what we have been deceived into, especially with calendars and all the rest of it, is thinking that there is, past and future. What we have is a perspective of collective thoughts that you can recall anything in the past right now, in as much as you can create anything for the future right now. That's the power of you. That is the true spiritual essence. I mean, I'll go back to J.C., right? And he said, God is light, year gods. And I said, yeah, okay, I can deal with that. And what we're dealing with right now are a bunch, and I'm talking about the planet in general, is a bunch of 5-year-old retarded children walking around with flamethrowers and machine guns, hacking each other's heads off. How smart is that? That's not very grown up. When you look at the complete adult population, what you're dealing with is a bunch of children. I know, I was one.
Yeah, I agree. I do. I mean, I'm reading now about how governments disagree, and I know a lot of people say that this whole thing is stage managed from the very top.
It's all drama.
Yeah,
it's all drama.
Yeah, but the manipulation still seems to work in various countries.
Manipulation only works for those that are ignorant and are willing to be manipulated. That's the difference about being an adult and a 5-year-old.
But what I'm saying is that at this level that I live at, I find reaching agreement with people is more difficult than I thought it ever would be. We all have our own points of view, and we like to keep it that way.
Right.
I enter into conversations, and people say, "Well, that's just your opinion, and that's fine. And my opinion is my opinion, and my opinion is as valid as yours."
And you know what that is? That's an emotional response. That's pure ego. That's pure left brain thinking, and that's pure idiocy.
I know now.
The minute that you can sit across a table from someone that says that they're neutral, which is what that's the table I set on Critical Mass every night. Mm-hmm. This table that we set is neutral. What we do is we get everyone to bring whatever it is they have in their bags, throw it on the table, and then we dig through it for the truth gems. We're not interested in being right or wrong. We're just simply interested in truth. And a lot of the truths that you find and you will come across are very uncomfortable truths. Mm-hmm. They will keep you up at night. They will make you wonder what the hell reality is all about. And that's why most people won't go after them, because they're quite comfy in their lazy boy chair, sitting back watching, Britain's Got Talent while they munch on Doritos and some grease-laden dead animal thing with a Diet Coke filled with aspartame that is made from the feces of an E. coli bacteria, and then they bitch about the government that they elected.
Love it.
Whose problem is it?
This is what makes me smile when you go off on one like that. I love it. You're absolutely right. I just like it when you don't hide or pull any punches. I mean, yeah, I agree absolutely entirely. We are at the moment we're the authors of our own downfall because we won't read. We'll just watch, and watching can only mean we're only ever second. I mean, I think somebody famous once said, if you want to predict the future, create the damn stuff. Create it yourself.
Yeah,
and you'll always, yeah.
We forgot to daydream as the children that we were, our canvases were painted for. That's what has occurred here. This is one of the reasons why they give kids shit for looking out the window daydreaming, because they don't want their little paradigm messed up. I mean, you look at teachers that are taught by teachers that were taught by teachers that were taught by teachers that teach the same bullshit, and it dumbs down every year. And then we have this, here's insanity for you. Well, let's vote this guy in because he's going to do something or she's going to do something better and different than the last one that screwed us over. And why are they screwing us over again? Because you're insane. Insanity is defined as doing the same things over and over and over again, expecting a different result. Stick your hand in a door and slam it shut on it. And do that 3 or 4 times, and then you might figure that one out.
Well, here in the UK, I can only say in my lifetime, but I suspect maybe before it, but I can know in my lifetime that the political system we have in this country is purely based on the following criteria for most people. They listen to one party and then the other. They calculate which one says they're going to give them the best deal and votes for them. That's it. And it's purely done on a financial basis.
Yeah, can you be bought and paid for? That's all it is.
Yeah, I realise that.
So when you vote, you're actually doing a very spiritual thing. You're giving away your electricity. That's why they call them elections. And vote, the L is silent. Mm-hmm. What you're doing is you're giving up your God essence even further. Not only do you not know who you are because you're using a slave name that is registered as crown property while you're unaware of it, ignorance, remember? Can't defend from ignorance position. Yep. Neither can they now, you see. So that's why you got to turn the tables. Yeah, well, Jesus did that.
I know that to some extent, I'm already accepting what you're saying about we used to have the power, because we end up finding ourselves now working for other people. And when we listen to the phonics of were king, we realise that's the past tense of maybe what we should and was and were at the time. There were kings, but now we have to were king for somebody else because we're no longer our own kings. That also comes into the word knowing, which is own king, or now king.
Yeah, again, let's look at it even further. Take the phonics a step further. WHIR means were.
Yes, it does.
To spin.
Kings to spin, yeah.
Yeah, we're the were kings, right? We're spinning ourselves out. This is the tough one for people to get a hold of. They are too busy blaming everything in their lives on something or someone else, and not taking full responsibility for the fact that when they got up this morning, they were the butterfly flap of the wings that creates the tsunami of their day.
Aren't we been spun by those spin doctors?
And by ourselves. I mean, I don't say they, because they, you mix it up. In lexigram, it means the ye, right? Or... and of course, the is theos, God, right? Mm-hmm. Them is the me, right? So, again, when we're stuck in a polarized, dualistic perception of somehow they are different than we, then you're divided and conquered. And they do that so effectively with things like borders. They call you a different, nationality. I arrived here on this planet in Belfast, Ireland. Right? Mm-hmm. Does that make me Irish? Well, no, I'm here in Canada. Does that make me Canadian? No. Well, I've been to the U.S. Does that make me American? No. Does that make all the places I've been, nothing has changed about me. You see, and this is where people get fundamentally caught up. Let's do an example. I'm an American Christian Democrat. Blah blah. Look at all the labels that people put on themselves to say that I'm not me. I'm something and someone else that was created for me. This is what they mean in the Bible when they say, and God created man in our image after our likeness. We make the choice. You are God. You make the choice of what it is you are created in. I just choose to be me. That's it. Because do you believe in a heavenly presence that we shall call God for want of another word? I believe in me, absolutely.
Right, so I see, one and the same. You don't differentiate between those two.
No. See, that's a problem with religion. And it's a perfect program. They got you convinced that God is some gray-haired penis-bearing thing in the sky that thought it was a good idea to send his kid down because he was too damn lazy to get up off his lazy boy to get slaughtered on this planet. And then, of course, all the churches do. And this is Judaism and Muslim and all the rest of it. I don't give a shit what it is. It's all the same program running, different theaters, right? And they've got everyone so convinced, and then of course they take this original truther. I use JC because that's the one that I grew up in, so it's the most relevant to me. And what do? They make him your external savior, and that's not what the guy was teaching. He says, "Don't worship me, be me." Mm-hmm. Right? So this is what it means to be the Christ, and it's not all the character in the Bible is. Like I said, whether he lived or not, it's irrelevant to me. It's the message of what is being said, because that being, as referenced in that book, is telling the same story that's been told for tens of thousands of years, long before Christ walked, supposedly. So I use the teachings. I don't get caught up in the emotional diatribes of people that are. That's where you get your fundamentalists. You got fundamentalist Christians, fundamentalist Jews, fundamentalist Muslims, and all the rest of it, and they got us fighting and kicking the shit out of each other. And the ones that are manipulating all this are sitting back laughing as we destroy ourselves. Or recreate ourselves. I just chose to recreate myself, that's all.
You got that one right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the Heavenly Father and that sort of thing. I'm not entirely comfortable that I can believe that is the case. I just put another O into the word God and go with the word good. And
good, yeah.
Yeah, well, that seems to fit in most scenarios for me.
Well, here's a challenge, for the Heavenly Father. The Heavenly Father, I'd like to see you give birth through that thing. That's the prodigal son, you see. This is the aspect of ourself that was given the ability to create.
Now, isn't this the story that's going on above us with the sun and the moon and the sea?
It's everywhere.
Isn't that the duality is going to a singularity, and the alchemical wedding and that sort of thing? Isn't that the story that they're following above us?
There's only one story, and that's the balance between magnetic feminine and electrical masculine, and getting these back into play. Now, I see this place as a cosmic joke, and what a perfect place for creation herself to actually become at effect to her own creation, i.e. the masculine, than to create a world where we can experience the complete opposite, where the patriarchal Rome, religion, the father and what have you, which is actually, we're at the effect to our own creation. It's a beautiful game. But people get too wrapped up in it. They get too emotional because they bought the whole bullshit story from these robed fools that were taught by robed fools that were taught by robed fools, telling the same stories over and over. And if you want to get a good handle on the Bible itself, you might want to tune into a couple of people. One in particular, Bill Donahue. Beautiful. You want to understand what the Bible is really saying. There's a guy that knows his shit. And then, of course, Santo Bonacci and other wonderful individuals like Mark Passio and Levon Bomer. There are lots of, I wouldn't say lots, but there are enough beautiful beings out there that are exposing the truths. What we run into is the program that people have had. It's been instilled in them. And these are the programs that people won't let go of.
So tell me, Kip.
Sure.
How do you see the future working out then? How do you see the next 10, 20, however you want to choose to describe our progress from here forwards? How do you see it working?
Okay, we had a little popcorn there. How would I describe future? Well, I describe it right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, how do you see it working out? I mean, I do see people being very interested as to what on earth's really going on, but having an awful hard time believing it when you actually try and tell them. But that's normal in the early days.
Well, yeah, because everyone's taking everything literally.
Yeah, well, there's too much as well, isn't there? There's actually too much going on. It's an information.
No, there isn't, Paul. This is the point I'm trying to make.
Initially, there is. Initially, you're bombarded from it. Initially, you do have to filter it a little bit.
Okay, well, I'm not going to plant seeds in people's minds to make sure that they will never get it. What I will share is this. When you start to see things from an allegorical perspective, when you start to see the real meanings behind what is going on here, it's like, did anyone happen to notice the split of the unholy alliance between Rome and London? It just happened.
I read it, but I didn't get the split. I got the Vatican covering up or working out a system to cover up its own wrongdoings. I got the Vatican covering up, investigating itself.
Well, no, that's what the apostolic letter was actually saying was every corporation on this planet was created through Roman Curia. Right? And what that document does is it strips all the immunity, including the immunity of themselves. But most people won't see that because they're too busy looking at the pedos and all the rest of it. That's fine. You want to get stuck in the drama, stay there, because that's exactly the intent of it. Can they keep you distracted? And they'll do everything to keep you distracted from finding out who you are. This is our test of awakening.
Yep. The time is now, and it always has been.
Always has been, and we got moved from it. So, for those that don't know what the unholy alliance split was on July 11th, Francis came out with his first paper. That was his first paper, not like coming out of the gate with a hammer. And it basically said we're going to all corporations. Basically, you remember corporations and this whole slavery thing came out of Rome. It started with Unum Sanctum, 1302, and Pope Boniface VIII. It carries on up from there. Those are the original trusts and whatever. And the alliance between Rome and London is very clear because you got things like SKYPE trusts and all the rest of it. These all interrelate. I know I've done the homework on it. They're all the same thing, but you can see the alliance. And what happened with Rome recently? Well, the Vatican was told from HSBC, where all their money was being kept, they had 60 days to get their money out and find another bank. Other banks are saying, no, we don't want your money. Why? Because Rome has exposed all the bankers, all the judges, all the lawyers, all the bar members, all the governments, all the politicians, the kings and queens across this every man, woman, and child has been exposed. And it's a beautiful thing if you can see it. So what it did was that apostolic letter leveled the playing field. So fine, you don't want to play along, London? No problem. I'm going to remove all your immunity from the bar. And the retaliation was, okay, we'll get your money out. Well, it doesn't matter. Now, I'll tell you something else. HSBC is the 100% owner of a company called SWIFT, SWIFT. It's an anagram. And what SWIFT does is they control 100% of all electronic money transfers around this planet. Right?
Yeah, okay, I'm listening. I'm waiting,
All right, so yep. What's the deal?
Yeah.
What I see there is looks like two kids, the two big kids and the two bullies in the playground aren't getting along right now. So as I've said all along, evil by definition will and must destroy itself, and that's what it's doing. So enjoy it. It's beautiful. And this came out September 1st. The apostolic letter came into effect September 1st. Ben Bernanke stepped down September 1st. Janet Napolitano stepped down September 1st. Judge bowed to sovereign September 1st, 2010. It all ties together. I see the game as it's played. We already won, guys. Let go. The illusion you're holding on to is the one you want to keep, and it's keeping you enslaved. I can't do anything, and I won't do anything. You want to stay asleep and get the shit beat out of you? Go ahead. I love you anyway. It'd be my wish that you wouldn't, but then again, I'm not going to trespass on your free will choice to put a gun in your mouth and pull the trigger, now am I? A lemming going over a cliff wall with the rest of the lemmings, I'm going to stand there and go, not something I'm going to do, and I'll set up a lawn chair and nice pina colada and have a few of my friends around that are going, yeah, look at them go, eh? And of course, the lemmings never die, but they certainly have a long climb back up, don't they?
And on that note, a fine finish. I wish you well with everything you're doing, Kate, and I got to say a very big thank you for joining us this evening, because I really wanted to listen firsthand as to what it is and the passion. And I haven't heard a lot of your shows because I don't spend a lot of time on the internet. I get to be busy working for the system, and I wish that wasn't the case, but unfortunately it is. And you say, well, that's your choice. Well, it is, to be honest. So I'll accept that's how it is for me. But I love the passion, love the way you say what you want to say, and I admire the fact that you don't care what people think, and that is the key to letting go of the ego that was you previous to that. So, Kate of Gaia.wordpress.com. I know you broadcast on criticalmassradio.co.uk, and if you want to finish off the other ways of finding out what you're up to.
Well, that's you can get me on Facebook, Kate.Renee.5.
Yep, I'll link that.
RENE.5, and anyone who wants to get a hold of me, I'm easy to find. Apparently, the biggest experts on the planet that are supposed to be able to find people can't find me, to shut me up, and I know why, because I'm untouchable. I stand in truth. And the minute you get there, you'll understand what I just said. This whole thing comes down. It's coming down.
Thank you for joining us, and take care, Kate. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Much love.
Bye-bye for now.
Take care.
What a cracking interview. Well, I mean, I knew it wasn't going to... It's not my usual type of guest, but that's why I asked her to join us. Because I can't sit here week after week after week thinking I know stuff without being told other stuff by other people. You know, I like that as well. And I know I'm not right about everything. I'm not right about many things. But I do know that I try to be as accurate as I can and not to cause arguments. Back in a minute.
We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars. But we won't. We're slowly learning that fact. And we're very, very pissed off.
Education is very dangerous. Every educated person is a future enemy. Hermann Göring. Making sure that you become free and independent does not serve the elites or anybody else's interest, so don't expect it. If you want it, you have got to fight for it.
And here we are. This is the life that we actually live. We can talk all we want, but if we're not talking about what matters, it won't matter. It won't matter at all. We can kid ourselves all day, because that's what we've been doing all our lives. We can listen to those that have got more time than we have, and we can think that they know more than we have. Eventually we'll actually find out that that's usually not the case. Children are a third of our population, but they are all of the future. So we can dispense with the niceties of adulterateds, which is what we are. Adulterate is to spoil, or to mess, or to wreck, or to break. And they've done their best with us. So, tonight's show's been a little bit different, and I knew it would be. Another point of view, which I don't disagree with, but I don't find is of great help on my journey. It doesn't matter. That view was given to me and to you for free. So to throw it away is to be silly. Just put it somewhere. We are who we make ourselves to be. We are definitely following a story from the stars. That story was put together by somebody at some point in some time, and that story is now being recreated on Earth. Well, of course, common sense would tell you that the story already existed on Earth. They just had to liken it to the stars and say that it's not us saying this. This is how it has to be. As for the historical references, let's see how they work out. Let's see. To ask for justice from a gang of known liars, paedophiles, and corruption beyond belief. To ask the Vatican to sort itself out is to think they're going to sort itself out is you know, ambitious, I think. I'm sure that if you read, you realise that you always attack your enemies silently in the language that they're comfortable listening to. It's do one thing, or say one thing, and do another. We must learn that from our governments. They do that. They speak to us in a language that we're comfortable with, that we think sounds like it's going to make our lives better. It never, ever, ever does. Not in a way that we can be happy about. We're given what we need to survive, but we're also making ourselves obsolete. This is part of a cycle, a circle, an awakening for some, and a nightmare for others. And we do get to choose. We do get to choose which path we're on. There is no finish line to this. Once you start, there is not a finish line. And there are many people who throw dirt at each other. And if you think I've tried to do that this evening, you're not listening properly. I brought another point of view that I'm not entirely comfortable with, but I'm not uncomfortable with it. It didn't damage my journey. It's not slowed my progress. I've been given what I was offered, and I've accepted it. Not as truth, not as falsehood, but as information like it always should be. I'm not throwing dirt. If you think I am, you're not listening properly. To throw dirt is to lose ground. Think about that. You throw dirt, you're losing ground, all right? That's what happens. So don't do that. We say to ourselves, spending our time. The time that you've got is yours. So therefore what you spend is your time. And that's your chance to increase your well-being, your wealth, your health, whatever you choose to spend your time doing. That's the prosperity you were given. And now you have to trade it into things that you think you need. In other words, you were fully charged up. You were full of everything. You were fully charged when you were born and grown. But how you spent your life force, your energy, is reflected on what you've got in return. And if you haven't got anything, it's because you wasted your time in the early days. You know, your future depends on many things, but mostly you. The circumstances around us can affect that. But once you learn to play the game, and you're never going to be told the rules for free, you have to learn them yourself. You have to read them. The rules won't come from your slave masters. Never have, never will, and they're never going to. Your rules will not be given to you by the people who want you to play their game. And it's better to fight for something than fight against something. You know, for or against. Fight for something that you believe in. But don't fight against something that you don't believe in. Alright, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just a little extra. That's all it is. It's just that little extra that makes you more than ordinary. So, whatever you do and however you do it, be what you can be, do it where you are, and use what you have. And enjoy the ride. Because it's all we can do. It's a ghost train mixed with a roller coaster. And it's all we have to go on. We can't change what's coming, but we can change what we have and affect what's coming. You see, what's coming's waiting. So it's us that has to change before what comes arrives. We can see where they want us to go. So try and affect change to change course. Just your course. I know lots of people want me to say we can save the world. I know lots of people say if you do this and do that and do that and listen to this and listen to that, we're going to be okay in the end. You might be right. And I hope you are, and I'm not going to stop anybody who wants to say that's how it's going to be. I think big and plan small. Because to think big and plan big is to fail. You're likely to fail. You've got to build this future. And it's built from foundations. One brick at a time. I've enjoyed the show, and I'll be listening back. You're listening to Paul and the Unpenned Show, without my sidekick Andy, who will be back next week. However you're listening on Blog Talk or awakeradio.co.uk, I am very, very, very grateful for your time. This teaches me what I do wrong. And I'm going to listen back tonight, and I have a feeling I'm going to learn an awful lot of what I've done wrong.